Hey.
Hank, it's a rolling party. You can see the people are in costumes. It's a 5-mile social outing. And I think that's the thing Hank wants to portray here. He wants the people to have fun, and they're doing a great job for the charity. And through all this, they have a great race.
Andy, you were the meet director for 4 years of this race. What are some of the logistics, the problems of running an event where you got 23,000 people or more here this morning?
Hank, as you can see, the race is a couple minutes from starting, and we have got thousands of people in the way. It's going to be a stampede. Trying to get these people out of the way, trying to move these people is hard. We deal with the city, with the county parks, and Summerfest. There are 600 volunteers. The Badgerland Striders put on a great race. The logistics are, it covers 5 miles, which makes it harder than a football game or a basketball game where you're in one place.
Okay, we're going to take a look over at the reviewing stand, if we can call it that, or the stand that's at the starting line. Al McGuire is over there now, and he's about to talk to all the people.
You got one for sure. I know, I got it then. Steve.
Some of the massive humanity along Wisconsin Avenue. The all-time record has been surpassed. I don't think we have an exact figures yet because the runners can register on the morning of the race, and we have a lot of cameras. I believe it's 12 in all that are shooting this morning's Al run, including one up in a helicopter, and that's the scene you're seeing now from the helicopter, and what a scene it's portraying. As Andy said, just a massive humanity along Wisconsin Avenue, and it's very difficult to... The race director over there in the microphone keeps telling them, okay, you go by times, and people in this group go at 14th, and somebody goes at 15th, and the wheelchairs are over here, but people, a lot of them don't pay any attention, but somehow it all works out.
Yeah, Hank, it all does. I don't know whoever talked about the loneliness of the long-distance runner, but I don't see it here.
Well, 5 miles isn't too bad. The course itself, relatively flat, Andy.
Well, it's flat and downhill, Hank. It's a very fast course. The wind is slightly out of the west today. It should be a fast day.
Okay. And you can hear the director saying that they want everybody that's not in the race to get out of here, and it's difficult for them to hear him, I guess. There's the race course we're looking at on camera now, Andy.
Yes, Hank, it goes east down Wisconsin Avenue. The first mile is a downhill mile. When you get to about Water Street, there's about a mile incline up to Prospect Avenue. Along Prospect Avenue, it's flat. With the tall buildings, the wind is pretty well sheltered. It turns east on Kenilworth to Terrace, to Lafayette, and then down the hill on Lafayette to Lincoln Memorial Drive for the last mile and a half, which is a very flat, fast mile and a half to the finish line at Michigan Street.
Any one area in there where it gets a little tough?
I think the area that's tough is the uphill portion, both for the great runner and for the recreational runner. From Water Street for that next mile to about Prospect and Juneau, it's uphill, and that's a challenge.
We should tell our viewers that Andy and I are riding in the back of a truck that's following the pace car, so we're positioned that we're going to finish in the top 5. Fred, the cameraman there, is going to finish ahead of us, but we're riding and not running. And so we will have, as we said, 12 cameras, and one of them in our truck, you'll be able to see the runners the top runners, as they follow our truck through the race. And you mentioned Dave Urich, one of the favorites in this morning's race, and you were telling me his strategy is he wants to lead wire to wire.
Dave wants to go out hard. He wants to challenge people. He told me he may hit a 4-minute and 14-second first mile. He will then keep going, and he may make his move. He said if he is challenged, he'll make his move near the First Wisconsin Center, the same place where his teammate Keith Hanson won the race last year.
If you just joined us, we're live down on Wisconsin Avenue, the area of Marquette University, and the mass of humanity you see on your screen now some of the 23,000-odd participants in the 7th annual Milwaukee Journals Run. And, of course, Al McGuire, we talked with him before the race started. It hasn't started yet. We talked with him a few moments ago, and he was just thrilled with the crowd. And he's going to run. He says he feels a little better than last year, but he says he got something wrong with a foot. He turned a foot or something. It seems to me Al's always got some excuse waiting in the back pocket in case he has to drop out, but he usually makes it.
I think Al's sandbagging us a little bit. I think that foot may be aching for about a block or so, but he'll be fine. The crowd will carry him along.
We're still waiting for Al to get up there in that starter stand, and he will talk to the runners before he and the rest of them get underway. Mentioned the helicopter utilized in this morning's telecast, and you can see shots from the helicopter right now of all the people, or some of the people, taking place in what has become a real happening in Milwaukee, Al McGuire's Run. Al was telling me before the race he used to be known for winning the NCAA championship. Here's Al.
I can't hear you. Good morning, gang. Let's try it once more. Good morning. Out of sight, out of sight. Unbelievable. From up here, we go all the way back. Looks like about 2 miles back. So, hey, the thing I got to get straight, listen up a second. The thing I got to get straight is that, please, I'm not worried about you guys in the front because you've done a lot of running. Please, number one, put your arms in front of the person in front of you. And let's get, that'll back us up, but let's do it. Otherwise, we'll have an accident. And the other thing, we're real proud of the walkers with Pat. Please don't edge on the sidewalk there because they're going to come down here like bullets. So be careful. I'm really worried about an accident. Now remember, we have blind people running with you. We have deaf people running with you. We got kids from 2 to 93 running with you. So please be careful. All right? That's enough yelling. Now, stay at the end of the run. We'll have the Booze Brothers. We'll have a good time, some suds and some patting on the back. Each person try to do their personal best. It's honor time now, and it's prime time. Thank you for supporting the Children's Hospital and the intensive care unit of it. You've done a very difficult thing. You make me feel humble. So thanks a lot. Let's have a pleasant run. And please, no accidents, huh? No accidents. Let's just go nice and easy. And we'll catch you down at the finish line. God bless you. Love you all. Thank you. Here's Joe Flanagan, Vice President of the Journal.
So Joe Flanagan, Vice President of the Milwaukee Journal, will speak next, and we'll be underway in a few moments with Al's Run.
For your information, 23,500 have registered for this race today. This moves us into the 3rd spot nationally for a fun run. So enjoy yourselves. Take it easy on people around you. Al, are you down there yet? He's still stretching. All right?
We're just about ready.
On your mark, get set, go.
The 7th annual Al's Run is underway, and we've got to move this pace car a little faster. That's a mass of humanity. There go the balloons, and here come the runners, and they are moving. The top group in front, of course, they're seated as to speed. You put your best runners out in front, and now, hopefully, Andy, no accidents. Al was concerned with so many people about accidents. Looks like everything's okay.
It looks real smooth, Hank. I think the runners know who's fast and who goes in front. I see Dave Urich, who we've been talking about, right behind Jeff Wackert, and there's a pretty tight pack of about 40 or 50 people. It'll probably stay that way for the first mile.
Actually, he's handled pretty well. If people are watching, there was a group over on the other side of Wisconsin Avenue. What's that group?
Well, that group is also seated runners, but I think the people who could win this race, maybe the top 20 to 50 people, will probably stay on this north lane because of it is a closer distance.
Okay, we're about to go over the I-43 freeway. The top runners are, and moving along very smoothly, as anticipated. And if he's talking about, Urich's talking about running a mile in 4:17 or 4:12, That's a fast pace to continue through 5 miles, Andy.
Well, he won't continue that through 5 miles. That second uphill mile may be as much as a minute per mile slower, although he will average well under 5 minutes a mile for the entire race.
You heard Joe Flanagan, vice president of the Journal Company, announce the participation at 23,500, moving this event into 3rd place as among the biggest runs in the country. And the other cities involved are much larger than Milwaukee. The #1 race this year had about 30,000. You're looking at action from the helicopter, live coverage of the 7th annual L's Run. The Beta Breakers race in San Francisco had over 30,000, but they've been on somewhat of a decline. The Peachtree race in Atlanta has stayed about the same at 25,000 over the past few years. Now L's Run at 23,500, and of all the major runs, this is the one that seems to be on the increase continually, Andy.
Yes, it is, Hank. It's as I mentioned before, it's a rolling party. I think people get that atmosphere and get that idea from it. They're here to help a hospital. It's amazing that a metropolitan area the size of Milwaukee can do this well. It's a real tribute to the city.
The run started at 14th in Wisconsin. You're looking at some of the mass humanity and the top runners, and we in the pace car have just passed 5th in Wisconsin. Here they come out of the shadows into the sunlight at 5th and Wisconsin, a group of about 6 out in front, Andy.
Hank, I'm surprised that the group has separated so early. These are world-class athletes out here, and they're really pushing it. Now, there are a lot of races within the big race. There are about 30 different age groups in this race, so if you're a female of 40 years old, you're also in competition against other females in that age group, and there's a lot of races like that going on within this race.
You're wondering what the record is for men. The record for L's Run was set in 1982 by Tim Hacker out of Menominee Falls, the famous Hacker running family out of Menominee Falls. He ran it in 23 minutes flat. And what do you think, Andy? They got a shot at breaking that mark today?
I think they've got a shot at breaking that. 1982 was another ideal weather day, and the competition was tremendous. The UW team was down here. That was the year that they won the national title. I would expect the low 23-minute figure today. They could challenge your record.
It is cool here this morning. We were talking earlier, Andy, that cool weather, as long as there's no snow or rain, favors the top runners.
Yes, it does. For these people, as you can see the way they're dressed, they've got singlets and they've got running shorts on. There's no long underwear and no sweatshirts in this crew. For them, this is not a cool race. This is ideal.
If you just joined us, well, I'm waiting for a time there. We just heard a time. Did you catch it, Andy?
4:15. That's right on schedule, right at the Milwaukee River.
Well, we're going over the river now, and you'll see the runners approach the river coming over the bridge. And 4:15, that would be for the first mile.
That's a very fast first mile, and I'm surprised with that first mile time that the pack is as tight as it is. I'm counting 8 people in that pack, headed by Dave Urich.
You're watching live coverage of the Milwaukee Journal's Run, the 7th annual. I'm Hank Stoddard along with Andy Arena, and we'll be back to continue our coverage in just a few moments.
Zonker, Joni, BD, Boopsie, you're all going to work again every day in the Milwaukee Journal. Doonesbury is back.
It's about time.
He was the American dream come true. A kid from the schoolyards of Brooklyn who shot his way to stardom as Marquette's all-time scorer, then parlayed those skills into a stint with the pros. Today, as a manager of corporate communications, ex-jock George Thompson is still going places. And he's going to the Milwaukee Journal Sports and Business section to stay in step, in touch, informed. Get home delivery of the Milwaukee Journal. Information for today's generation.
Welcome back to the 7th annual Milwaukee Journal's Run. First one that's ever been televised live. And we have a pack of 6 runners who have broken away from the group in this 5-mile run. And I would think as we come to Jackson Street along Wisconsin Avenue, that Andy, you could almost safely say one of these 6 is going to win it.
Yes, one of these 6 will. They've got about a 40-yard lead, and at that, even at this early point in the race, that's pretty tough. I'm trying to get the numbers on some of those other lead runners.
We're being followed by another photo truck alongside us. And I noticed Bob Wolf from the Journal, sports writer, Mark Sablejack's in that truck. And we've got some of the wheelchair participants, too, just cut across the race course. This is a happening, as I said earlier. The police sirens, of course, to make sure people are out of the way. And we're about to make the turn down towards the lakefront. And we are pulling a fair distance ahead of the runners, so it's very difficult for us to pick up their numbers. But Dave Urich is still in front. We can tell you that much. Gorgeous morning. Got a little cool as we came down through the canyon of the buildings on Wisconsin Avenue. Do the runners feel that too, Andy?
Yes, they do. These runners, not as much as the runners in the back of the pack. Now, Dave Urich, I talked to him prior to the race. He said he would make his move right about here. And I'm seeing him opening up a 1 or 2 yard lead, which is not that significant.
Yeah, he's out in front, but 1, 2, 3 right behind him. Then now the gap, really, we have 4 in front. It's narrowed a little bit, unless one of those other runners who are falling a bit back makes a late move. It may be a field of 4 now for the men's winner.
Well, it looks like Mike Dobrient, Jim Bryce, and Jeff Wackert are running very close. That's who it is. Mike Dobrient is 4th. Jeff Wackert out of the UW Stout via Hopkins, Minnesota. And Jim Bryce, a UW runner who's a very smart runner. Bryce ran on the 1982 cross-country national championship team for Dan McClymon's Badgers.
I think we're showing some of the unofficial times on the screen. Difficult for us to see what you're seeing. That little TV set there doesn't like bouncing along Wisconsin Avenue, the one we're looking at. But there's going to be an outstanding women's field as well. And Sue Schneider has to be the favorite out of Minneapolis for the women, Andy.
Well, Sue is coming back this year after setting the record last year. Sue is from Glendale, Wisconsin, and now lives in Minneapolis, one of the top female runners in the country. Ran in the Olympic trials for women. I would expect her to be the favorite. Judy Doyle, a local runner, and Donna Driscoll, who's a local runner, could give her a lot of competition.
There's the Randolph Blue Rockets we just passed. Give that band a plug. They're out here. The Marquette band was at the start line there, providing some entertainment for the runners before they started. And now we have still a 4-man race, but 3 out in front, and the 4th runner looks to be tiring just a little.
Dobrient looks like he's tiring a little bit. Jim Bryce, Jeff Wackert, and Dave Urich look very strong. I know both Wackert and Urich are 1 and 2 mile champions. They've got tremendous mile speed, aside from their road racing ability.
You're watching Channel 4's live coverage of the Milwaukee Journals Run, the 7th annual Owls Run. And stay with us, because after the race is over, we'll talk with the winners. We'll be on hand for some of the presentation ceremonies. And then tomorrow night at 10:30 on Channel 4, a half-hour wrap-up, the highlights of the race. And we've said before, it is a race for these top people who are watching. But for most of the people, it's just a big fun day. And behind these 3 runners, we've got 23,497 other runners and walkers taking part.
Hank, there are probably some people who are just crossing the starting line now, if you can believe it. We crossed 2 miles in 9 minutes and 10 seconds. That second mile was at 4 minutes and 55 seconds. The reason the slowdown was it was all uphill.
Well, Urich out in front now, and the top 3 runners running single file. But you had said before we started this race that Urich had told you he didn't, if he could prevent it, he wasn't going to let anybody pass him. So far, that's what's happened. He hasn't let anybody pass him.
No, he hasn't. He wanted it to be his race, but he's got some real strong competition. In 5th place, I see Tony Rodiez, who's not very far behind. Tony's a 1979 winner, and in talking to Dave Urich and some of the other local people never count Tony out of the race.
A teammate of Urich's won it last year, correct, Andy? And he's not here this year.
No, Keith Hanson did win last year, and he's presently running for the Marquette team. Dave is the assistant coach for Marquette. Their team is running at the Catholic Nationals today in Notre Dame, at Notre Dame.
Of course, Dave, before becoming assistant coach, was an outstanding runner on that team as well.
A 4-year letter winner in both track and cross country.
You should mention that Andy's a good runner, too, with the Badgerland Striders. That's quite a group, Andy.
Yeah, it's a very good group. It's a volunteer group of about 2,000 members, and they're the ones that put on the actual running part of this race, the physical part of the race, along with the Milwaukee Journal.
Well, Dave Urich out in front. And we are now, how much further we have to go?
We're at the 2.5 mile, almost the 2.5 mile mark.
So we're halfway through this 5-mile Al's Run. People along the streets watching them, applauding as the runners come by. Dave Urick still the leader. We'll be back for the conclusion of the 7th annual Al's Run, live here on Channel 4 right after this.
She started dancing when she was 4. She'll be finished by the time she's 40. That's what drives this prima ballerina with the powerful stage presence. At 98 pounds, Michelle Lucci is no weakling. As ballerina with the Milwaukee Ballet, she's going places. And she's going to the Milwaukee Journal to stay in step, in touch, informed. Get home delivery of the Milwaukee Journal. Information for today's generation.
Back live with Al's Run as we head down Prospect Avenue. And Dave Urick still out in front. A young man from UW-Madison, Andy, is second.
Jim Bryce is running a strong second. Jim, as I mentioned, has a lot of running experience. He ran for UW. He's one of the top cross-country runners in the country.
And in third place, you say the man in third place has a kick, so we shouldn't count him out.
Jeff Wachter, UW Stout from Hopkins, Minnesota, is a 1- and 2-mile champion in the State University Conference. I would say he's got tremendous leg speed. 20 or 30 yards behind for him. The race is not over for him.
Somebody was playing music as we came by. The theme from, what was that famous movie on the Olympics, the British Olympic team?
Chariots of Fire.
Chariots of Fire, right. As the
We
runners
should hear Rocky pretty soon.
12 cameras covering this event today for our Channel 4 coverage of the Journal's Run. You see the overhead shots occasionally. They, of course, are shot from a helicopter. And then we keep cutting away from the leaders to the vast mass of humanity that follows these top runners. But Urick appearing at this stage to be very much in control.
Urick has just gained about 6 or 7 yards in the last minute. He looks very strong, very confident. He's concentrating.
Now, we're going downhill. Obviously, so are the runners. For a runner of this caliber, that provides somewhat of a break. I mean, like as far as the energy expended?
Yes, as far as energy expended, they can keep the same energy level and increase their speed.
If you're watching us, and we hope you are this morning, a reminder that there's a half-hour wrap-up on Al's Run tomorrow night at 10:30 on Channel 4. I'm Hank Stoddard along with Andy Arena, and I'm looking up at our chopper overhead. It's following the race, and we just came over the bridge on Prospect, and now we come to a right turn on Kenilworth. So we'll make the right turn, go around the corner here, and you'll see eventually the runners make that turn as well. There's your Rocky theme now.
There it is, Hank.
Give him hell. Congratulations. That's out in front of Maury's on Prospect. Before the race, we talked with Al McGuire, and here's what he had to say. Al, you must be doing something right. This weather this morning couldn't be better.
We got a good break, especially being clear. If the sun shines, it kind of warms you up. And the only thing it might affect a little bit of the young children. And they'll be dressed warm. They can take the clothes off as the day goes on. But, yeah, God did kind of kiss us today.
Now, you mentioned the weather, though, but for the guys up in front, you got a name for those guys up in front. What do you call them?
Oh, they're rubberbacks. They're just, well, the guys and girls, there's maybe about 3,000 of them, and they get out of here quite quickly, and it's a little dangerous in the front, and they're coming back at us. Usually when we're down about 3 miles, they're already finished, and they start back at the tidal wave of people, which will be about 20,000, that are just trying to get it done. They're really trying to get their own personal goal, their personal best. But it's just as difficult for a person running in 1 hour than it is for a person that runs it in 24 minutes, surprisingly.
Now, what's your personal goal?
Today, and this is no excuse, I'm not kidding you, because I'm a little better shape this year than I was last year. But last night I was walking and my right foot went out a little bit. And I just hope, no, really, I just hope that it's, that I can run. And I would say I'd do in the low 40s. And usually the adrenaline and the crowd, they get you going and you kind of get in a high. It really is a beautiful thing. This morning I ended up parking down by Summerfest, and I got on the buses, and I got on a bus coming up with the rest of the crowd, and everyone seems to be so wholesome and so pleasant. And it's surprising how you can take a crowd of 20,000 people, and there's nothing that's not orderly about it.
Mm-hmm.
You tell them to move here or move there, and so it's really my greatest thrill. I can't keep thinking back to '77 when we won a national championship, but it seems that I'm known now for the run and not for basketball. But that's life. It goes on.
And you'll take that.
Yeah, I'll take it. I just like each day. I try to stretch each day out. I try to milk a day. And today I try to get here early and try to just walk around and get the glow. It's kind of a nice feeling. And it's most of the times I don't like being known, but today I do like being known.
Good luck out here today.
Thank you, Hank. And I hope that your car gets away from those runners. Those runners are going to be right on top of you. So it should be a great show.
Letting it go now.
Well, the car, Al was concerned about the runners being on top of us, and you can see the mass of humanity, but Dave Urich actually passed us briefly there and is in command of the race. We'll be back to bring you the exciting finish of the 7th annual Al's Run after this.
Well, you know you make me want to shout.
Their suits are black, their socks are white, and their music is strictly blues. In 4 years, 2 bad dudes with a good band have played their rock and review across the Midwest. The future looks bright through those dark glasses because the Booze Brothers are going places. And they're going to the Milwaukee Journal to stay in step, in touch, informed. Get home delivery of the Milwaukee Journal. Information for today's generation.
I'm Hank Stoddard live with Andy Arena, and we're covering Al's Run live. And the leader, Dave Urich, and while we were talking to Al on tape there, Andy, what a spurt Urich put on to virtually sew up the race, I would think.
Before we went off, Hank, he had about 10 yards on it, and he turned from Kenilworth onto Terrace and just put the pedal to the metal, as the runners say, and he must have a 60-yard lead now.
Coming down Lake Drive, there have been people or cheerleaders along the course. Various houses had loudspeaker systems playing encouraging music for the runners. But if Urich is going to weaken, he's showing no signs of it. He looks very strong.
He looks very good. Jim Bryce behind him is still running strong, but Dave seems to be putting distance. Behind him is Jeff Wachter.
Now you'll see him as we come up here, Andy. You'll see them get refreshments. Urich apparently is not going to bother.
No, in a race this distance with this temperature, these lead runners won't stop for water.
We're just passing the Duck Lagoon. If you've been down on Lake Drive in the past, gorgeous setting for the race as well. I don't imagine the runners get much chance to take in the scenery, but it is a gorgeous setting for a race.
Well, these lead runners don't, but the other 23,000 really enjoy the course. It's laid out beautifully. You get to see the downtown, you get to see the lakefront, and some of the nice areas of the east side.
We have the helicopter coverage, of course, hovering overhead, and you can see from above the scene, and the lead that Urich has keeps lengthening with every step he takes.
Yes, it does. The race for second place, I just saw Wachter. He looks like he faltered a little bit. Jim Bryce should have that. Behind that, I see Tony Rodiez moving into fourth, passing Dobrian. I see Gary Hauser back there, and some other good top local runners.
So would you say that we only have unofficial times, but would you say that 23 flat record for this run is in some jeopardy this morning?
Well, it may be. He crossed that 4-mile mark in about 19 minutes, and he looks very strong. He could do it.
It's a 5-mile run. Some of the people along the sideline saying, "Go, Dave." And it's just a matter now, I would think, of what time Dave Urich is going to post.
Right, Dave has been here before. In the 1984 Gimbel's Great Race for the Mac Fund, Dave won. In 1982, he ran against Rick Rojas and Herb Lindsay, world-class runners, and came in. He pushed them the whole way and came in a very strong third.
That would surprise me, Andy, at the start was the speed at which we had to get this big truck moving to stay out of the way of those front runners. They broke out of that gate pretty fast.
Yeah, it's shocking to see that. And then they keep that pace up for the whole race.
We're live coming down Lake Drive with coverage of the 7th annual Al's Run. Stay with us when the race is over. We'll be talking to the winner, Dave Urich. And now the runners are being sent to the other side of the road here on Lake Drive, the top runners. And now we almost had Dave going the wrong way. Now he actually ran a little longer than he had to there, which if he misses it by 1/10 of a second, it could be the direction he was given. I think for a moment the fellow yelling at him was going to send him the wrong way.
It may have been a little confusing. Dave is running for the East Bay running team. The East Bay being a corporate team, running team will come down this side of the road.
Well, we got a rock band out here that's serenading Dave as he goes by that particular group. And we're coming back, going under near the War Memorial here, Long Lake Drive. And the lead now is, it looks like a football field.
It may be 100 yards, Hank, and it's really amazing that he's keeping this kind of pace and he is not being pushed from 1 or 2 yards behind. Usually a pace this fast, it's the reason for it is the guy is pushed, but Dave just is letting it all out here.
The most amazing statistic, as I look at some of the statistics from past Al's runs, I think maybe Don Vandello's time. Don Vandello out of Waukesha, Wisconsin, in 1981, completed the 5 miles in a wheelchair in 28 minutes, 20 seconds in a wheelchair. That's an amazing time. Some of the other age groups, there are categories kept for the various age groups. Under 18, 24:10 is the record there. Then there's every 5 years, 30 to 34, 35 to 39, and so on. The time for 60 and over, set by my good friend John Archer out of Oconomowoc, Wisconsin last year, under 35 minutes for somebody over 60 years of age. That's astounding as well.
I think John's 70 now. I saw John here before the race. He's dedicating this race to his friend, Sil Ludington, a good Milwaukee local runner who died last week.
Now we're hitting the crowds down here on the lakefront, and as we get to near the Summerfest grounds and the finish, we've gone under the finish line. Here comes Dave Urick. We'll try to get you, he's won this race, and we'll try to get you an official time just as soon as we possibly can. But Dave Urick, approaching the finish line, is going to win the 7th annual Milwaukee Journals Run, and he has crossed the finish line. There's your winner, Dave Urick. I can't see the times as yet, Andy.
No, I don't see it, Hank. It's right around 23 minutes.
And, of course, we've had other categories. There was somebody pushing a man through this race on a stretcher. There may have been a runner who couldn't run and said, okay, you push me. I want to be in it anyway.
Well, Hank, when you talked about the 23,000 odd participants, I thought maybe you were referring to some of the costumes we saw today. We saw a Frankenstein, and we saw running shoes, and we saw some centipedes.
That pair of running shoes was something else. We had one man running in one running shoe and one man running in the other, and they were about 8 feet long, and they were running in running shoes. But Dave Urick has won the race, and we're going to have to make a move here so we can get from one place to another and get to the runners and talk with them. We're covering Al's Run live at the Milwaukee Lakefront, the finish line, and the very top runners are coming in now, of course, the top 5 or 6, and in a little while, the numbers will grow, and it'll be just a big traffic jam. U-H-R-I-C-H. Dave Urick is the man who's won it from the Marquette University coaching staff, and he's going to have to tell his runners do as I do.
Yeah, Dave is from Manitowoc, and he's been down here for 4 years, and he's had a great career. In 1981, the NCAA district championships were held at Tresca Park. And Dave finished first in that race, which was quite an upset. In that race were all the Big Ten runners.
Our chopper up overhead, providing coverage of the finish. And we're still waiting for an official time. Maybe somebody can get us an official time on Dave Urick.
I'm sure Dave will know when he comes over. He should be here in a second.
Yeah, well, I don't know. It was I didn't think to hit my stopwatch and keep an unofficial one, or to hit it when I hit the finish line. It was difficult for us to see the actual hit of the finish line because we'd gone across it ahead of him.
Right, Hank. I had my stopwatch going, but somehow I stopped it in that 5th mile, so I'm stuck on 19 minutes and 59 seconds.
Okay, well, we'll see in a few moments just exactly what the time was for Dave Urick. He is definitely the winner of the race.
Things are pretty tame now. Things are pretty tame now here at the finish line, but within a couple minutes, it'll be jammed up. There'll be thousands of people coming through. It looks like Dave Urick is just finishing up with the race director, and he'll be coming right over.
First aid station down here at the finish line, and with today's weather, they're not going to be all that busy, I don't think, because it was cool enough to... certainly we're not going to have anybody pass out from heat frustration, I don't think, not today.
I don't think there'll be any heat-related problems, and most of the people who run this race have done some training, and they know their capabilities and what they can do, and they try to keep it within that.
At the finish line of the 5-mile Al's run. Haven't seen Al yet. He said he thought he'd make it somewhere around 40, maybe.
Well, I think 40 would be a good time for Al. He's in good shape this year. He said he's been doing more training than last year, where I think he did about 49 minutes.
Al's at the 3-mile mark, I'm informed. So he's doing fairly well. He's got a couple of miles to go. Al isn't going to go out there and try to break any speed records. He just wants to finish. And Dave Urich is approaching our stand over here now, the winner, the race director bringing him over. And come on, Andy, maybe we can get down here and talk with Dave. I'm going to make a move here, Director. We'll let you know so we can get down and talk with the winner, Dave Urich. And Andy's coming down here, too. Dave, congratulations. We didn't catch you. Look over there so people can see you. There you are. Congratulations. You just dominated this race.
I tried.
Did you catch your official time? We couldn't see it from here.
I think it was about 23:20. I'm not sure.
23:20. 23 minutes, 20 seconds. So maybe about 20 seconds off the record. But did you ever feel challenged?
Yeah, Jim Bryce and Jeff Wachter came with me for the first 2 miles, and I was worried then, and so I tried to put in some surges, and luckily I got away.
We were suggesting that the weather was perfect for runners of your caliber. Would you agree?
Yeah, it was. It was maybe about 5 degrees too cool, but I'd rather have it a little bit too cool than too hot.
You're familiar with Andy Arena. I'm sure he wants to ask you a couple of questions.
Dave, it looked like one of those surges was right about where Wisconsin Avenue hit Prospect. At about the 1.5-mile mark, you got a couple yards lead.
Yeah, I just tried to, at different points, just trying to put in surges and see if I could break those guys. In the first couple of 3 surges, they went right with me. It wasn't until about the 4th or 5th time that I started to pull away.
When did you know that you had the race?
Not until about a half-mile to go. I kept, so you could probably see, I kept looking back because the 3-mile mark, I got a side stitch really bad. In the last 2 miles, it was hurting pretty bad, so I kept wondering how close they were behind me.
Well, I've talked to other runners, and I've talked to you earlier today. You've been pointing toward this race throughout the whole year. You've had a good year. Where do you go from here?
Well, I just want to keep road racing. I'm sponsored now by Team Adidas, which helps to get into some better races and stuff. And I've been going around throughout the Midwest and bigger road races. So that's what I'm going to keep doing.
Dave, your Marquette University team is going to have to be proud of you. You're going to have to tell them, hey, just run like I do.
Well, some of them do, especially Keith Hanson, but yeah.
He couldn't be here today, would he? He'd have been a threat.
Yeah, he definitely would have. They had the National Catholic Invite last night, so our coach didn't want him racing 2 days in a row, but he would have definitely been a threat.
Dave, I want to congratulate you, let you get away. The 1984 winner, 7th annual Al's Run, Dave Urich, originally out of Manitowoc. Want to say hello to anybody out there?
Hi, Manitowoc.
Okay, thank you, Dave. I think we got the 2nd place winner over there. Andy, if you want to bring him over and talk with him.
Jim, how are you?
Hi, nice to meet you, sir.
Good. Jim, you were very close. It wasn't until about the 3-mile mark where Dave started opening up a small lead. It was 4 or 5 yards. It got to 10 yards, and then what happened?
Well, once Dave broke it open a little bit, it's real hard to make up that ground in between, and so he ran real well today, and I think it was just great how he ran.
Yeah, I've seen you down here before. Your name's always in the top 5. You've graduated from UW. You ran with them. You ran with the 1982 championship team. What does Al's Run mean to you?
Well, it's the biggest run in the state, pretty much the country, so it's really neat to come down here. The people in Milwaukee make this really cool, a neat race to run. The bands and the people line the course, so it's real exciting, and no matter how bad you feel, it seems like you can finish strong anyway.
What did you think when he had a 20-yard lead? Did you then try a surge, or was he surging at that time?
Excuse me. He pretty much put in it. He was gradually pulling away, so there wasn't too much I could do. Dave has a great finish besides being able to run fast, and so I didn't think I could outkick him. I just wanted to stay as close to him as I could.
Okay, I'll let you go and get something warm on. It looks like you're getting some goosebumps there.
Thanks
a lot,
sir.
Jim.
Have a good day.
Andy, I have the ladies' winner over here, the women's winner. And as we watch the action still going on, thousands of runners crossing the finish line from the chopper. Sue Schneider is finished, and I'm just trying to look for her time from last year. She was 26:45, and Sue is from Minneapolis, but we think you're from Milwaukee. You still think so, too, don't you?
Oh, I still think so. I love it here in Milwaukee.
What are you doing up in Minneapolis these days?
Well, I'm married, and I was a chemist, but I retired, and now I'm just a full-time runner.
And a very good one. I understand you broke your own record this morning.
I did. I think by about 15 or 16 seconds. It's a great day for a fast run. Perfect.
The weather was great, huh? This is Andy Arena on your right here.
Hi, Sue. I met you last year when I greeted you across the finish line. You've won the race 2 years in a row now, the first person ever to do that for men or women for the McGuire run, yes.
Yay.
Now, how about that flu yesterday that no one was supposed to know about? How do you feel today?
Well, the last 2 miles were a little rugged. I think I could have run a lot faster if I hadn't felt kind of sick to my stomach, but no excuses. I was really happy with the race. Happy to be here and happy to finish.
You've got to be happy. You're running well. You beat the record. Congratulations.
Thanks. It's a great run, and everyone was so supportive. I think more people recognize me as the first woman today than in any other road race I've ever run.
Well, that's because you're running faster and the crowd's not so thick. Were there any women that you were aware of that were close to you at any time during the race?
I never saw anybody. I just saw men, real supportive men.
In what way supportive men?
Well, if they were passing me, they'd say, come on, run with me, or if they were dropping back, they'd say, go for it, run harder. Just supportive, helpful.
Now, Sue, I imagine Schneider is your married name. Am I right in that assumption?
No, you're wrong.
I'm wrong in that assumption. Okay, I was going to say, hey, maybe some people remember you remember Sue Schneider. Where'd you go to school here?
I went to Nicolay High School.
All right, let's hear it for Nicolay.
Hey, Nicolay.
And then went on to?
Lawrence University in Appleton, Wisconsin, whose cross-country team's here today.
Okay.
Which is where I started running, so I hope they all did real well.
What are your plans for the future, besides coming back trying to win this one a year from now, 3 consecutive years?
Yes, I'll definitely put that on my calendar. I've got a series of road races this fall, the highlight of which, in my mind, is the Pro Comfort race in Honolulu in November.
Now, we aren't going to have people in wheelchairs and guys running in clown costumes and things like that in that kind of race. As a serious runner, what's your thoughts about this race? Because while it's great for people like you, it's mainly for the average jogger. What do you think about a race like this?
Oh, I love it. I wouldn't say it's mainly for the average jogger. I think this could be, all you'd have to do would be bring in a few more top runners, and with a course like this, and every day I've been here, every year I've run, it's been a beautiful weather time of year. It's a great race, and you could make it into not only a charity race, but a great competitive race if you wanted to go that way.
What about the crowd along the way? They were offering encouragement. I heard a few bands and people yelling.
Yeah, it was great, very supportive, a lot of good music, and friendly, cheerful, cheering people.
Andy?
You had mentioned that fast course. What does that downhill mile do for you, that first mile of the race?
Well, it really gets you going fast, and it's not only, it can be a detriment in that you can go out too fast, but in general, it gets your legs speed up, and you start out with a really fast first mile split, so you feel real encouraged about your time. I think I went through the first mile in 4:50, and obviously I didn't run any of the other miles that fast, so.
Was your time today your best 5-mile time?
Yes, it was.
Good. We set a personal record here. That's something to be said for the course, too, and her ability.
Lots to be said for the course.
Sue, we'll let you go. Sue Schneider, the women's winner in a record time. Give it to me again.
26, 29, or 30.
Okay.
Hank, I think the men have got to watch out next year for Susan.
She may be finishing on it. Thanks very much, Sue Schneider, the women's winner. And we're going to go back up to the chopper and watch what's going on. They're still finishing here at the finish line of the 7th annual Al's Run. Thousands. Now, if you missed the start, Joe Flanagan of the Journal Company, the vice president of the Journal Company, gave us an attendance figure, Andy, of 23,500, an all-time record. As we've been saying, this thing just continues to grow and grow. And we're waiting for Al to finish. Maybe we can get him over. Andy, these people coming in here now, they're still pretty decent runners.
They're very good runners, Hank. The times that they're finishing are 35, 34 minutes, and that's more than a jog, a lot more than a jog. There are a lot of age group winners that may be coming in these groups, and they'll be recorded with the computer, and the results will show them. They're also winners.
All right, we're going to try to get Al, when he's finished, to come on over here. I doubt that he's finished yet. He'll be another couple of minutes, I would think, before he eventually reaches the finish line. But we're just past the finish line of Al's run, watching the masses of humanity as they complete their run. And it doesn't matter how long you take, I guess. Did anybody ever keep track who was the last guy across at any of the other races?
I don't know if that's ever been keeping track of, but that person usually has just as good of a time. And when they go into the Summerfest grounds and have a little refreshments and listen to the Booze Brothers, they're all winners.
They also have a corporate run as part of this. Various corporations enter running teams and, of course, help raise money. The whole idea of this is to raise money for charity at Children's Hospital. The money goes to Children's Hospital. And I understand this year, for the third consecutive year, the United Parcels Service of Elm Grove is the corporate winner. I don't necessarily mean that they'll have the first runner across the finish line among the first, but they have the most number of runners, 358. That has to be almost everybody who works there.
They must have some sort of a fitness program out there in Elm Grove where they encourage those people to stay fit, because every year it seems like they carry that largest corporate team trophy off.
And some of the other areas, when we show you tomorrow night, on our half-hour special, 10:30 to 11 tomorrow night, I'm sure we'll incorporate some of the presentation ceremony. And during that presentation ceremony, you'll see costumed runners, people dressed in all kinds of weird costumes. And we don't want to forget the walkers, because the walkers form one of the reasons for the growth of this has been the addition of the walkers under Pat McGuire.
That's a big reason for it, Hank. It's a approximately 3-mile walk, and people can really get out here and enjoy it. The kids can come out with the strollers. We saw dogs with T-shirts and numbers on. They're probably in the walk also. It's really a great participation event. These people can come here, they get the same T-shirt, and they take part in the same party everyone else does.
Well, they're all coming across now. Not all of them. There's still a lot more to come, but it's amazing the logistics of keeping everything straight at the finish line. Everybody gets to know their time, Andy.
Everyone does. It's hundreds and hundreds of hours in organization by the Badgerland Striders. They're down here at 5:30 this morning setting up these finish line chutes. The Milwaukee Journal, we use their computer for the timing and for the seating of these runners. And it's really amazing that they can keep this many people in an orderly format here.
If you joined us late, we've been providing the first ever live coverage of the 7th annual Milwaukee Journal's Run. I'm Hank Stoddard along with Andy Arena. We're at the finish line, where the winner among the men was Dave Urich of Manitowoc and Marquette University's coaching staff, and the winner among the women was Sue Schneider, who formerly is from Milwaukee and Nicolay High School, now is married and lives in Minneapolis. She set a record time for the women, and Dave Urich about 20 seconds off Tim Hacker's record, Andy. I thought he had a shot at it, but he says that he got a little stitch in his side.
Yeah, he got a side stitch, which is a very sharp pain right below the lung, and that he said it slowed him down. We sure didn't see it. I think the reason he may not have broken it, he was not pushed very hard in that last mile. If there would have been someone at his shoulder 2 or 3 yards away, you would have probably seen him even reach down a little more and go a little bit harder.
Okay, if you're sitting at home looking for something to do, why don't you come on down here? We're going to have a lot of fun. The Booze Brothers Band is down there at the Summerfest grounds where we are at the main stage, and they'll have the presentation ceremonies. Al, I'm sure, will thank everybody once again for making this the most successful Al's run in history with the 23,500 runners and walkers today. We want to plug once again our half-hour special tomorrow night at 10:30 to 11. And Andy Arena, we've only got a few seconds left here before we close our live coverage, but I want to thank you, sir, for providing your analysis and picking off those top runners for us. You suggested earlier it might be Dave Urich wall-to-wall, and it was.
Well, it was Dave wall-to-wall. I talked to a lot of local runners, and they'd expected that. But you never know in a race like this. There are anywhere from 20 or 50 people who can do it.
Okay, this is Hank Stoddard along with Andy Arena down at the lakefront at the conclusion of the 7th annual Milwaukee Journal's Run. Al's Run and this broadcast were brought to you by the Milwaukee Journal, providing information for today's generation. Now, this is Hank Stoddard and Andy Arena. Here are the names of the others involved in today's coverage of Al's Run.
The event, of course, is named after Al McGuire and is sponsored by the Milwaukee Journal. And this year, for the first time, it was televised live by Channel 4. For those of you who missed that broadcast, a half-hour special can be seen tomorrow night at 10:30 with Hank Stoddard as the host. The winner of this year's 5-mile run, Dave Urich, a student at Marquette. His winning time, 23 minutes and 20 seconds. The fastest woman for the second year in a row was Sue Schneider of Minneapolis. Her time, 26 minutes, 20 seconds. Last year, $22,000, with the money going to the intensive care unit at Children's Hospital. News 4's medical reporter, Mark McLaughlin, explains how the money is to be spent.